rise and fall of the Unreal Tournament franchise. Welcome to another exciting episode. I'm your host, Tia Ayer. With titles like Doom, Castle Wolfenstein, and Quake, first-person shooters began to gain popularity in the early to mid-1990s. Multiplayer first-person shooters were created with the rise of LAN computer stores and LAN gaming in general. When discussing influential multiplayer first-person shooters from yesteryears, the Unreal Tournament series from Epic Games comes to mind. The game was first launched at the turn of the century, inspired by several sequels, and acquired fame in the multiplayer community and esports sector, with the Unreal Tournament brand gradually fading into the background and making room for successors in the arena shooter genre to thrive. Creator Epic Games has subsequently changed their approach to the series and turned their emphasis and attention to other endeavors. In this video, we will find out what happened to the franchise and what time has in store for it.
In an attempt to control violence among deep space miners, the Liandry Mining Corporation established a series of leagues and bloody public exhibitions.
Rise of the Unreal Tournament franchise. Actually, Unreal Tournament wasn't the first game of its sorts. Epic Games created a first-person shooter named Unreal before the first entry came out in 1999 to showcase their brand new Unreal Engine. Later, Unreal would culminate into Unreal 2, Awakening, a sequel and expansion pack before evolving into the multiplayer-focused Unreal Tournament. Let us find out in detail what led to the rise of this behemoth in the multiplayer shooting FPS genre. Unreal 1998. Unreal, the first game in the Unreal series, was created by Epic Games and Digital Extremes as their first 3D project. However, according to numerous reports, the engine's work began around 1994. The game was authorized by GT Interactive in 1996 and published to the public on May 22, 1998. In addition, it was the first game to utilize the Unreal Engine, both a single-player experience and a multiplayer option with room up to 16 players were offered by Unreal. Because of the severe violence, the ESRB gave it an M rating for mature. In the prison spaceship Vortex Rikers, the player assumes the role of Prisoner 849. The spacecraft gets drawn to a strange planet while being transported to a jail based on the moon, to the planet Nepali, inhabited by the Nali, a primitive tribe of 4 armed humanoids. The ship crash lands on the edge of a gorge. The Scar, a species of brutally yet highly developed reptile humanoids, have conquered the Nali and their planet, except for Prisoner 849, who finds a weapon and escapes the ship. No survivors are left after Scar warriors board the wrecked Vortex Rikers. The Scar have invaded because the planet of Nepali is abundant in Teridium, a material that appears as light blue crystals and has high energy output. The ship went down close to one of the several mines and processing plants that the Scar have constructed. The enormity of the Nalist misery and exploitation becomes apparent as Prisoner 849 makes his way through the mines, encounters enslaved Nali people, and finally enters the remnant of Nali temples, towns, and cities. The player discovers the remnants of other people during the course of the game, frequently along with electronic journals that describe their final moments and allude to the reason for their passing. Typically, the stories are about frantic attempts to flee from the Scar or other planetary dweller savage creatures, with the exception of an injured crew member who gasps and dies right away on the prison ship's bridge. The player never encounters another living person. On the planet Nepali, for the whole game, Prisoner 849 is most likely the sole person still alive. After passing through more alien facilities, a second wrecked human spaceship, and historic Nali temples overrun with Scar soldiers and their henchmen, Prisoner 849 finally makes it to the Nali castle. The prisoner discovers a teleporter inside the castle that connects to the Scar mothership. The mothership turns out to be a maze-like structure, but Prisoner 849 is able to navigate it and destroys the reactor, sending the ship into darkness. The player eventually makes it to the Scar Queen's room and kills her after stumbling through the dimly lit passageways. Prisoner 849 leaps into a pod intended to escape as the mothership breaks apart. Even though the prisoner makes it out of the Scar alive, the escape pod is abandoned and given little chance of being located. Unreal offers 4 multiplayer game modes in addition to the campaign, including single-player and co-op options like Deathmatch, Dark Match, Team Deathmatch, and King of the Hill. All other multiplayer game types employ deathmatch maps, except for Dark Match. Unreal Tournament 1999. The New Earth government was established during the Human-Scar conflict. The primary source of funding for the war was mining, but the work class disapproved because they were tired of the harsh working conditions and the conflict. Riots started as humanity was losing the fight. Scar forces encircled the Terran system, but after a government squad destroyed their mothership, the Scar departed. After that, rebellions and violence in the mining colonies grew, and attempts to quell them were ineffective. Then the administration had the brilliant notion of providing a channel for violence. The legalization of consensual murder in the year 2291 made it possible for individuals to engage in organized fights to the death. In collaboration with the government, the Liandry Mining Corporation set up leagues and open exhibits. Liandry established a professional league to participate in the Grand Tournament, the most well-known competition in the sports. As soon as these matches started to be more profitable than mining, the game is set 50 years after the first sanctioned bouts in 2341. In the single-player campaign, the player strives for the title of Grand Champion in a series of arena battles against bot opponents. The challenge of the reigning title holder, Exan Gregor, an enigmatic entity with tremendous talent. The player climbs the tournament ladder. Domination Assault, Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch, Capture the Flag, and the Last Man Standing are among the game's game modes. The seventh game mode is named Tournament Dark Match, however, it lacks its map. Two teams participate in the Assault game, one attacking and the other protecting a base. The assaulting side must achieve goals on the battlefield, such as turning off a power generator or penetrating a specific location. The team launches an initial attack before attempting to defend during their initial assault. They succeed if they are able to do this. The team defending first wins if they attack the base more quickly than the opposing team. The game ends in a draw if both sides play the maximum amount of defense. This mode is absent from the Dreamcast rendition. In the Capture the Flag game, players try to take the other side's flag and bring it back to their base. Teams who want to win must play well together, a lot. In addition to entering the opposing team's base, capturing their flag and returning to base, both teams must protect their bases from approaching assaults. In Domination, two teams battle to win points by controlling different control points. 3 control points are present on typical maps. Physically inhabiting the space is how these points are first controlled. Although, control of a point lasts until a member from another team takes up residence in the area. The team with the most points after a time restriction has passed, or the one that reaches the point limit first, wins. The goal of the Last Man Standing is to outlive your opponents while emphasizing the number of fatalities more than the quality of kills. Players begin with a fixed number of lives and access to all available fully loaded weapons. There are no power-ups, such as health or ammo packs. A player loses if they run out of life. Combat in a deathmatch is the standard every man for himself scenario, while in a team deathmatch, up to 4 teams compete to outkill members of the other teams. The goal is to kill every enemy player.
Play.
Anyone else want some?
Unreal Tournament 2003-2002. Malcolm, a human, ousted Exan Gregor, the leader of the Liandry-sponsored Team Corrupt, to become the champion in 2293. Malcolm is a well-known media personality, revered as a deity and heralded as the greatest celebrity in human history. His success results in significant profits from his sponsoring company, drawing the ire of envious rivals in both the tournament arenas and far-off powered corridors. Liandry lost in its effort to reclaim the champion title with Exan MK2. It is now 2302. The tournament is going through a significant makeover. The outdated sniper rifle and assault, a team-based competitive event, are eliminated from the tournament. Many tournament supporters criticized the modifications, and some competitors declined to compete in the new format. Soon after winning, Malcolm recruited 2 of his old rivals to join him on the Thunder Crash squad. However, the gene-boosted Juggernaut squad, captained by the ruthless and vicious George, was also pitted into the tournament by the Axon Research Corporation, one of the 4 big companies. The game, unlike its predecessor, doesn't have the Assault mode, but introduces a few other game modes like Bombing Run, Invasion, and Mutant. The simplest way to explain Bombing Run is to compare it to an American football played in Unreal, where the player with the ball must carry it to the enemy territory and score the opposing team's goal. The option to pass is available to players. The ball bearer fumbles the ball when they are slain. While not a weapon, the ball launcher is used to transport the ball and heals the person using it when their health is low. Field goals are for 3 points and touchdowns are worth 7 points, although the levels are frequently made together so that the ball carrier is killed in the process. The gameplay of Mutant is highly reminiscent of Juggernaut or King of the Hill. The Mutant has infinite ammunition, concealment, and super speed because they are the first to accomplish a kill. The Mutant then tries to kill as many people as possible before dying. After killing the mutant, the killer turns into the mutant. The goal of the co-op game type Invasion is for players to eliminate the alien AI that has invaded with only one life that is provided to them.
Only you will determine if you're a contender or a moving target. Headshot!
Unreal Championship 2002. The championship occurs in a parallel universe in which an extraterrestrial species known as the Overseers enslaved humankind more than 1,000 years after the beginning of the tournament. They first disregarded the tournament as unimportant, but after realizing the advantages that it might provide, they brought it back as a way to penalize the loudest and most aggressive opponent with the promise of a prize for the victor. The only chance for humankind is that a hero will emerge from the ruins of their culture and overcome all difficulties to put an end to the hegemony. Nefarious was the name of that champion, the most outstanding Unreal winner to ever enter the ring. He and others who perished against him were applauded. A very deserving award was presented to the Unreal champion after he triumphed, secured his position in tournament history, and proved that he was the toughest and most vicious competitor. The Emperor gave a prize of immortality. He declined and then requested his release, which resulted in the erasure of his name and record from history, and the alleged execution of Nefarious for his audacity. Others contend that Nefarious realized his longing for independence and abandoned fame and power, only to travel to the lonely planet of Pandora at the edge of the cosmos. Whatever happens to him, he will go down in history as the greatest Unreal champion to ever compete. The game was exclusively released to Xbox in September 2002. Apart from the game modes available in Unreal Tournament 2003, the game introduced the survival mode with deathmatch-style gameplay, where a larger player count was available. The player who achieves a specific score first wins. The loser is forced to line up with the onlookers as soon as a round is over, whereas the victor stays in the game until they are eliminated.
The edge of human existence. A single cry for help.
Mayday, mayday! This is the Leandri Station, Lima 6 on Sanctuary.
Unreal Awakening 2003. The game is a sequel to Unreal, although many of the plot details, including the characters and settings, have nothing to do with the first game. You also get to play as a completely different character as you go through the missions. The most practical legacy of the Unreal universe is arguably the existence of the infamous Scar in small quantities. The player assumes control of Terran Colonial Authority Marshal John Dalton, a former Marine whose duty is to patrol isolated regions of space, far from any actual activity. He is recalled to duty to collect 7 fragments of an ancient item that when put together would produce a potent weapon. Like many other first-person shooters, the storyline is linear, and the adventurer travels to numerous worlds in pursuit of the relics. Each location's level design is linear, and only has a small number of puzzles and crucial areas. Each planet has a variety of settings, including tropical and desert regions, bunkers and industrial facilities, alien cities, and even crevices inside the bodies of aliens. The player must defend a place against waves of approaching foes over various missions, sometimes with the assistance of NPCs. It is a brief game overall with only 12 missions. Legend Entertainment created Unreal 2, expanded multiplayer for Atari to fulfill the initial commitment to add player multiplayer features to the original single-player Unreal 2 game. The participants in the team-based game Expanded Multiplayer are divided into the red and blue teams. There is an artifact node at each team's base. 2 artifacts are initially present in each artifact node. The game's primary goal is to take the opposing team's artifacts and then register them at the player's side's artifact node. However, a team may also win by capturing and keeping all generators, which effectively depletes the energy of the opposing team. Using a first-person perspective, the player may shoot and communicate with all the people and things they come across throughout the game. By eliminating adversaries and behaving in ways that clear the way, the player may advance through each level. Instructions and support are sent from an orbiting spacecraft to the astronauts while they explore enemy planets or outposts. Interlude levels allow the player to explore the starship between the missions designated by various planets or regions. In order to improve their tools for the upcoming task, the player can engage with other individuals during this period. Unreal Tournament 2004. The game takes place in a reality where humans and Scar formerly fought, resulting in the destruction of Scar's galactic empire. The Liandry Corporation thought of holding a gladiatorial competition for the miners to help in the restoration of the colonies by calming down angry inhabitants. As a result of the widespread attention, sponsored teams competed in arenas built especially for the event. Robot Xan Gregor had been the tournament's winner from the start, but Malcolm, who was heading the Thunder Crash team at the time, defeated him and then led Thunder Crash to combine with the other well-liked squads at the time, the Iron Guard commanded by Brock. In the previous year's competition, they were overpowered by the Juggernauts, supervised by the gene-enhanced monster George. As the tournament approaches its 10th year, George and the Juggernauts are there to protect their championship. Brock is back with the Iron Guard, aiming to restore his title as champion, and Malcolm is back with his old squad, Thunder Crash. In addition, the Scar Empire has sent a team to the competition in pursuit of honor and glory. In contrast, ex-champion Xan Gregor has undergone some changes and is back to reclaim the championship. In addition to the 3 new game types, Onslaught, Vehicle Capture the Flag, and Instagib Capture the Flag, the game features every game type included in Unreal Tournament 2003. The game also features Assault mode from the initial versions of the game. The vehicle-based game option, Onslaught, aims to seize a number of power nodes connecting the player's base to their opponent's bases and demolish the power core within each of them. Whoever destroys the enemy's power core first wins.
Warriors gathering forth in noble tradition, battling for ascension. The greatest among them will be crowned emperor.
Unreal Champion 2: The Liandry Conflict 2005. Players in the narrative mode assume the characters of Anubis, who fled the prior Ascension Rites competition to become the Nakati Emperor, has now joined the military. When he watches Selkit, his former fiancée, expressing her goal to win the Ascension Rites tournament since the last victor passed away due to severe illness, he returns to the competition. To broadcast the competition to the rest of the galaxy, Selkit has an agreement with the Liandry Corporation. As they go through the game's many modes, as Anubis, players encounter voice-acted, in-engine cut sequences that further the narrative. Anubis and Selkit are ultimately the only 2 players left, with the respawn mechanism being disabled for the decisive kill in the final match. Despite his achievement, Anubis is devastated that he had to murder the woman he loves. A representative of the Liandry Corporation then approaches him and offers him a contract to revive Selkit via the Necros procedure in exchange for competing in the company's different tournaments, since even the Emperor cannot afford it. Anubis hesitantly consents, claiming that he does not deserve the Nakati Emperor's position. In the last scene, a Necrosis-style Selkit stands behind Anubis as he prepares to address his people as their new ruler. For this game, the developers also introduced additional Nakati characters like Anubis, Selkit, and others. By enabling characters to swap to their appropriate weapons, such as a sword or staff, Unreal Champion 2 introduces melee fighting to the series. While utilizing guns, players may quickly transition between first and third-person views, while only being able to use melee weapons in a third-person perspective. Additionally, players may perform unique fatality moves that closely resemble those in Mortal Kombat, another Midway game franchise. The Tournament mode and Challenge mode are 2 more single-player options in Unreal Champion 2. In the ladder-style arcade mode known as the Tournament mode, players can take on various game characters throughout a certain number of matches. In the Challenge mode, participants compete in single matches to complete challenges of various complexity. After completing these phases, the player can use different mutators and characters in multiplayer or single-player versus bot games. Fall of the Unreal franchise. Unreal Tournament 3 marked the beginning of the end. It was published at a period when the first-person shooter genre was highly competitive. Although it was well received by critics at the time and sold over 1 million copies, the response from fans, however, was mostly unfavorable, since many believed Epic Games had overcomplicated the series' basic and effective concept while also losing part of its enchantment. Despite the reputation and legacy Unreal Tournament 3 still has, it could not compete with other, more popular shooters like Call of Duty. Unreal Tournament 3 2007. Several teams in Unreal Tournament 3 are not tournament participants since, unlike previous Unreal Tournament games, the single-player storyline does not revolve around the tournament grand champion. The 5 playable clans are Iron Guard, a group of human mercenaries headed by former tournament title holder Malcolm, the Ronin, a group of 4 Scar survivors, Liandry, and the Crawl, an aggressive race of aliens that were once under the control of the Scar and who are making a comeback since the first time they appeared in the original Unreal. The Necros are warriors who underwent the same process to increase their strength at the price of swapping their biological mechanisms with Nanoblack, thus transforming them into zombie-like soldiers, which inspires their name. The Necros are the main enemies in the campaign, whereas the players take control of Ronin warriors. The Necros invade a colony of an unidentified planet in the game's plot, unleashing armored Crawl on the inhabitants. A bunch of Ronin show up and defend the survivors even though the colony is helpless. The squad commander, Reaper, instructs his fighter, Othello, his sister, Jester, and the team sniper, Ace Bishop, to use a fighter to smash the orbital Necros barrier. At the same time, he swarms to protect the colony. He unconsciously slips because he is suddenly hit by an oncoming rocket missile's explosion, but not before witnessing a nearby soldier being shot by an unidentified Necros lady. Reaper is saved by Jester and Othello, and awakens at the Izanagi base, a rebel group that battles Necros and Axon. There he meets the commander, who is later identified as Malcolm, who also commands the Iron Guard, Izanagi's army. He says that Liandry also transformed part of the Crawl into Necros-controlled zombie troops and planned the Necros onslaught. Akasha, the Necros agent who devastated the colony and also commanded the Necros soldiers, is revealed to be the unidentified Lady Reaper witnessed. Reaper decides to kill her before being reminded by Malcolm that he must first establish his credibility. The game is primarily an online multiplayer type that offers a variety of game modes, including Capture the Flag, large-scale warfare, and deathmatch. This is similar to the previous entries in the series: Invasion, Mutant, Onslaught, Bombing Run, Last Man Standing, Domination, and Double Domination are among the modes that did not make a comeback. During development, Assault was taken out of the game. The vehicles in this Unreal Tournament game are divided into the Necros vehicles and the Axon vehicles. Although the Axon vehicles carry over from Unreal Tournament 2004, several have undergone considerable gameplay adjustments. On vehicle maps, each player has access to a personal hoverboard, a gadget resembling a skateboard, which enables rapid movement over expansive areas and grappling onto teammates' vehicles. The game includes a few new game modes in multiplayer games, which are a one-on-one gaming format called a duel, where a querying method is used in which the winner is kept while the loser is sent back to the back of the line. The person with the most kills wins the match, which usually lasts about 15 minutes. The pot for each team increases when a member of that team kills an enemy in the game type Betrayal, which groups freelance players into teams. Any player on a team with a pot can deceive the other players by shooting them and seizing the pot. However, for the next 30 seconds, the other players must protect themselves from the betrayed allies to avoid receiving bonus points. Onslaught and Assault are combined in the Warfare mode. The fundamental gameplay mechanics of Warfare are the same as those of Onslaught, but it also includes countdown nodes and the Orb, which can be used on instant capture and defend modes. In Greed, the main objective is to gather skulls left behind by deceased players and take them to the other team's base. All vehicle capture and flag and capture the flag maps are used in Greed. Unreal Tournament 4. The first installment since Unreal Tournament 3, Unreal Tournament 4 is the 9th game in the franchise and the 5th in the Unreal Tournament series. The game was made using Epic's Unreal Engine 4 and is available for free on Linux, OS X, and Microsoft Windows. Due to Epic Games' emphasis on Fortnite Battle Royale, the game was never finished after its 2014 alpha release. The game tried to remain true to its legacy, offering almost all of the game modes available in the prior versions. Everybody was welcome to contribute to Unreal Tournament's development, and Epic Games used forums and Twitch-like streams to facilitate this. The game's source code was made available on GitHub. By the time the crew switched to Fortnite in July 2017, production had ended. However, the official confirmation of the end of the development cycle wasn't made until December 2018. The game is still freely accessible in its June 2017 version. Future of the franchise. It is difficult to predict whether Unreal will ever return in its base, tournament, or championship forms. Due to Fortnite's continued global success, Epic Games is unlikely to invest in the necessary resources in it. This isn't to suggest that the impossible to make a new Unreal game. After all, Epic could just as easily hand the franchise's management to a new team of creators. Who that would be is a very different conundrum. After their brilliant work on Doom and Wolfenstein, ID Software stands out as a strong contender. Still, given that they are a Bethesda subsidiary presently owned by Microsoft, it seems unlikely that they would work on it independently of Xbox and Epic. To showcase their new engines, Epic has consistently released a new Unreal game. Now that Unreal Engine 5 is a preview and is set to arrive in 2022, Epic may have something special in store for Unreal Tournament. Marvelous Verdict. Unreal as a game has a legacy that spans over 25 years. It was the go-to game for a generation of gamers who were addicted to this first-person shooter, for lack of a better word. At one point in time, the game was the pinnacle for the multiplayer shooter genre. But like any other legendary franchise, it had its fair shares of ups and downs. Only time will tell if there will be a new iteration of the game for a new generation of gamers.